Welcome back, everybody. My name is Dragagon, and this is Gregtech New Horizons. Not a lot has happened. A few days have passed, but I haven't really been actively playing at all. One thing I just completed was getting this node. It was a pale node. When I bottled it up and brought it over, it turned into a fading node. I've got it sitting in the advanced stabilizer to try and get that back to being the pale node, or I think that's what that one is. But got that thing working its way. It's a node that has 42 Ignis in it, so that when it energizes, it'll have 6 centivis, which should be enough to run the Everburn urns in order to power a large heat exchanger and a centrifuge and a steam turbine. Basically, these guys that are over here, the large steam turbine, the large heat exchanger, and then the guy that's in here, which is the turbo centrifuge, in order to get some tungstate out of that stuff. That way I can get tungsten. You guys remember from the end of the last video, I got 64 of the small tungsten steel fluid pipes. I also made some of these Nether Star fluid pipes so that I could pipe around the 64 liters per second that I need. Someone in the Discord told me, and I didn't think of this, I didn't realize it would actually do that. If I make a second one of these fluid output hatches, not necessarily an EV one, but one that makes up for however much over this guy produces. I guess I could have gone with like 2 HV output hatches and then 2 HV input hatches on this turbine. I could easily get enough power to power not an HV dynamo buffered hatch, but to get an EV buffered dynamo hatch. And then I made this off camera. It's a Shadow normal size turbine. This thing took a while. I was running everything through this. Basically, I used 8 silicon dioxide dust, 4 bowls, and 2 blaze rods in order to get the stuff necessary to make the shadow. The shadow ore, which is a Thalmcraft thing, which means that you guys will now be seeing bats spawn around me. It's quite annoying, but that does happen. The pardon me. The 4 bowls cover the vacuous aspect. The 2 blaze rods cover the Percancho. It's got an excess of 20 Ignis when I do that. And then the 8 silicon dioxide dust covers both the metallum and the tenebrae, and gives me like air and one other thing in there. Or maybe it's just air that's extra, and then a couple extra tenebrae. But anyway, I made 24 of these shadow ores, which I then ground down and put through the thermal centrifuge, and then pulverized again, and then smelted down in the EBF over there in order to make that turbine. Now that turbine, if we take a look at it, you can see how it says optimal steam flow 64,000 liters per second. That is enough to run, I believe it's 400 lava through, 400 liters of lava a second through it, and generates, I think it's like 1800 EU per tick, which is enough to keep this HV dynamo buffered hatch working well. It's not quite a full amp of EV. It's like 0.9 or 0.89 amps of EV power. So I will be getting that thing set up more or less once this node goes from fading to, like I say, I think it's pale. The other node that I've got over here has been bullied for a while. I had it in the advanced node stabilizer, but it doesn't really need it because it is the big node on the block. This guy right here. Let's just double check. He is, yeah, pale. That's the one. So he is a pale node. I was hoping having the advanced stabilizer on him would get him up to a normal node. I know it can take a long time. It was sitting in there, and then I ended up finding that Ignis node. And I'll just continue to let this guy bully around these other nodes and build up its strength just so that I can get a fairly big node out of it. So I just let it run over there. But like I say, once this guy turns pale, I'll slap a block of redstone up on top, or maybe just a lever, I don't care which, and get this guy energized, and then use it to power the Everburn urns, which can then go on to power my base. So that will be a nice setup. It probably means that I will need to rerun all of my wiring, start looking at mass producing the aluminum that I would need in order to make the 4 times aluminum cable to run all over the place. So we might see about doing something like that. In the meantime, I am beginning the dreaded bees. I've been collecting a bunch of bees. You can see here I've got my Apiaris backpack. I went around catching a bunch of bees. I have quite a few in here. Several are pristine, which is good. And I will use the ignobles to try and crossbreed and then make the standard ones out of these pristine bees, especially like the water bees. I believe water bees always come out pristine. So I've got some ignoble forests. I finally found some ignoble, or there's a pristine meadows. I have some marshy, some tropical, another water. So yeah, I got quite a few bees here. I also have some more bees down in there from when I first started collecting bees and never got anywhere with them. So I am looking at doing the bee thing. Pardon me. I'm going to go through. I'm going to be creating all of these different things. I guess next up on my lists are to create some of this stuff, some slabs, string, and sticks in order to make some untreated frames. Oh, that's not bad. I can do that relatively quickly. Let's see here. Well, maybe not. I've only got 14 sticks, but I have quite a few oak slabs. And then I can also... yeah, this is obnoxious. Every once in a while, even though I'm telling it to send all the, pardon me, all of the spruce wood over there, it piles up in those guys, and it gets really annoying. You'll see if I come over here, I probably have, yeah, look at all this. Look at, this is ridiculous. And it gets really irritating that I end up getting stuck with all of this spruce wood that just sits here, especially since it is clogging up the rest of my system instead of going over to where I told it to go. So I clean it out every once in a while. I haven't figured out why it is deciding to store it instead of to put it over in that other chest. I thought it had something to do with the amount of priority, if the priority level was off by one of these things, but that did not seem to fix it. So every once in a while I just got to double check and see if I've got spruce that is in any number higher than 64 inside of my request pipe, and then I come over here and I clear it out, and then it sits here and lags down my machine with all of these entities until 5 minutes pass and they all disappear. So yeah, that's fun and joy, I say, for me. But at least that means I have no shortage of wood anytime I need to do something like this. I can pop these guys in. That was from making the spruce, what is it? The spruce, the glass tube, or the glass lens, rather, for this field kit. There we go. There's some extra of that, and then I just need a little string. There we go. And as you can hear, the birds in the background are being all kinds of lovely today. I guess they're having a blast over there. So here we go. 1. Let's stick those on there. 2, because I don't think, yeah, they don't stack. And 3. There we go. 3 frames done. So that cleans up that stuff. And I'll get to work on the impregnated frames and then get on to the Bealizer as I start working on this, and I will begin working on getting my common princesses. That's kind of my goal for the day while I wait for that thing to move from fading to pure. So I'll see you guys back here. Hopefully it doesn't take me like a day and a half in order to get some progress somewhere, but I'll see you in a bit. Well, it's been a few days. And I did some stuff off camera, but then I took a break actually for a few days in real life, just playing around with a new Switch game. But in any case, let me show you what I have done. I did not wait for the node to properly make itself a pale node. But I went ahead and slapped my transducer on there, put a lever on there, and started this thing up. It gives me 4 Ignis and 4 Perdicio. And the 4 Ignis is plenty to run both of these Everburn urns. I actually went ahead and created the second one, and then I hooked them up with these MV pumps, and then I have those going into a tiny stainless steel fluid pipe. Now, the reason for the tiny stainless steel fluid pipe is because it will, at a max, input and output 600 millibuckets of lava per second. The nice thing about pipes, if you can calculate it properly, is that they only move half of their total volume every second. So right there, I can stick this thing at... I can basically have these things plugged directly into the large heat exchanger, and it will run it. However, because I only wanted to get 400 millibuckets per tick of lava into this setup, I went ahead and put on the fluid regulator that I had made, and I have that guy running there. So he only allows 400 millibuckets per second to go up into the large heat exchanger. Now the 400 millibuckets is key because this guy will output exactly 64,000 steam per second if you do it that way. And then that pumps directly into here using my nether star pipe, and you can see it fills up and empties out pretty regularly. And then if I go ahead and grab my portable scanner, now this thing runs up and down and up and down, but you can see right there when I clicked it, it was outputting 1,725 EU per tick. Current speed, it says at 100%, so that's good. That's where I want it to be, is that 100% of flow. And it's getting exactly as much as it needs in order to run and create energy. And you can see that it also stores, what is that? That's like 4 HV batteries worth of power all at once. But in any case, I have back here an HV dynamo hatch that outputs up to 4 amps of HV. I have it hooked into this turbo centrifuge that I had made previously, and that guy is, of course, running with the Pahoho lava, which gets us copper, tin, gold, silver, tantalum, which is nice to have a tantalum source that is unlimited. And then, of course, the ever-important tungstate dust. Now, one thing I didn't notice before until I started working with it, these are small piles of tungstate dust, not tiny piles, which means I only need 4 of them in order to make 1 dust. And then, of course, I need 7 dusts in order to run it through an electrolyzer with some hydrogen and to get the tungsten out. So that means I only need 28 of the dusts in order to make 1 tungsten. That was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. But in any case, it runs into the high voltage transformer, and then of course the high voltage transformer runs around the rest of the base. Now, this isn't a true amp of EV, but because my base is all this one thing aluminum cable instead of like a 2 or a 4, I really can't have the generators running at the same time. If I run the generators at the same time, one of these wires is going to melt. And since I really don't want to deal with that right now, I've kind of left it alone like that. This guy does chew up quite a bit of power. Let's see if I do that again. It wants to use 80 EU per tick out of an MV, so when I move this up to an HV, that's 320 EU per tick that it's using, and that 320 EU per tick sucks out of that 1700 that this guy is producing. So I've probably only got a little over 2 amps of HV to power the rest of the base for the time being, but I'm not doing a ton of stuff right now, so I don't have to worry about that too much. Now, also over here, I have the advanced mixer. I didn't realize it before until I went and started looking, but you need that advanced mixer in order to make the tungstate dust, or sorry, the tungsten steel dust. I did something with it. What did I do with my tungstate? Oh, I put it in here. So the tungstate dust, after you electrolyze it, gives you the tungsten, and then that inside, well, you can do it manually and not cost you anything, but if you add it to a mixer, where is it? That guy right there. You can see it takes 500 EU a tick to mix the tungsten and the steel in order to make the tungsten steel dust. So I am slowly working on building up this amount of tungstate so that I can get the tungsten and then get ready. You guys saw me open the loot bag, and I had, where did I put it? I think I've got it, yeah, right there. I've got this stack of 64 small tungsten steel fluid pipes. The next effort is to get 32 of the tungsten by electrolyzing it in order to get it out of the tungstate, and then make another stack of the tungsten steel. And then the idea is that I'm going to smelt it in the EBF and then quickly turn around and turn all these things into into the new EBF coils. The one thing I am thinking about doing, however, is taking this guy and turning it back into an ingot, and then from the ingot, what I want to do is make that into, where is it? That's an alloy smelter. Where's the extruder? There we are. What I want to do with it is instead, I'd like to make it not a tool rod. Where is it? Make it into the tungsten steel rods, and then take those guys and hammer them into the long rods. And then what I'd really like to do is then take that and the assembler, and I want to make one of these, one of the large turbines. Now, it's going to take me a while to build up 12 turbine blades out of shadow. But once I do, I can take the fluid regulator off of the pipe that goes into the LHE. It can then consume 600 millibuckets a second of the lava and turn it into, I believe the number is 96,000 units of steam. And then I can take, right now I've got these two EV hatches, and what I can do instead is I can replace both of those with HV hatches, and then those HV hatches will allow the full amount to come through, and this guy will bump up to almost a full amp of EV power, which will be very nice, especially when working with my current setup. At least I think it's a full amp. I might be miscalculating that. This might be closer to 2 amps of EV power, in which case then I can also hook up those diesel generators and get myself almost 3 amps of EV running through my base, which would be perfect for running things like this guy right here, the Advanced Assembling Machine 3, and getting myself further into EV. So yeah, long story short, that's everything I've been working on over there. Up here, I have my bees going. Funny thing, most of the bees don't like it here in the rainforest. If I go back to that bee tab and we look at we look at this habitat locator, you can see right now we're in the rainforest, which is warm and damp, and most of the normal bees do not like it being warm and damp. Instead, they want it to be normal and normal. Well, oddly enough, I have this eerie biome right here next to my base, and it overlaps just a little bit with my base. As you can see, it extends maybe 3 or 4 blocks into the chunk. And so I have all of my normal bees being bred right along that chunk border, which makes it nice for making sure that my bees are set. Now, I'm having a little bit of an issue. I've been getting I've got 2 plain common drones now, which is very nice, but I can't seem to get the queen to pop out an all common princess yet. So I've been fighting back and forth. You can see I've got a lot of hybrids here, some common forest, some forest meadows, yeah, some meadows forest, forest meadows, so on and so forth. So I'm working with those guys. In the meantime, I have these other guys automated because I'd like to get a stack of drones for each of these guys, and it of course provides extra combs when I'm working with it. Same thing with the meadows, and then over here I have those magical ones, the mystical and the unusual drones, and those guys occasionally produce some extra bee combs that I can centrifuge down in order to get the honey to power the beealyzer. So just working my way along in that regard. I also did end up using some coins, and I bought a stack of apiary. Well, not a stack. I bought 4 apiaries, which is why you see as many as I have there. I bought a rocky hive, and I bought a resonating hive so that I could get a couple of those bees as well that I have then stuck in here. The rocky one I did, the other one must be in here. I also went out of my way to go ahead and make an apiarist backpack, and I flew around and gathered up a whole bunch more bees, trying to get some more pristine princesses. The ignobles I will use to crossbreed with, and then hopefully at some point in the near future, it could have been removed, I don't know. There was a quest in here somewhere, or maybe it was in here, that unlocked ocean bees, because oceans have been removed. The ocean bees are nice because you purchase them and you get a princess, or maybe it's 4, and they are pristine. And so that means that I can then get those. Once I get a set of drones of, like, say, the commons up and running, I can convert one of those pristines over to that type of bee, and then I don't have to worry about having another of that princess type. I can breed up a stack of drones and then, you know, move on from there. So that's everything that's been going on kind of offline in the meantime. I'm sorry, I don't think I showed you guys setting up all of this mess here. It was a little bit frustrating trying to get this stuff all configured and working right, because the lava flows into the LHE and it starts producing superheated steam first. And while this turbine can kind of use it, not very good at that. But once it gets past sucking up enough of the lava to make the superheated steam and it passes through, it starts producing the regular steam because of that fluid regulator. And so then it loops around producing the purified water. What is that? Sorry, I'm trying to remember what it's called. Now I can't get up there now that I built this crazy contraption. It was the distilled water. There we go. And as you can see right there, I've got a super tank, and it stays sitting right here at about 348,000 millibuckets of pure distilled water, and it just runs in a nice circular loop there. It hasn't gone down in several hours, so that's always a good thing. Anyway, that is the latest with the base. I still have my pile of stuff over here for AE2 that I need to get working on. Yeah, that's about it. I guess I will see you guys in the next video the next time. Till then.